Shabbat Shalom. It's Reuben Ebrahimoff, the Haftorahman, with the explanation of Vayechi's Haftorah. So here we go. We just finished reading the Parsha that talks about the last will and testament of our forefather, Jacob, Yaakov. So the men of the Great Assembly said, we got to pick a Haftorah with a similar theme. So they pick a Haftorah from the book of Kings. What king? David, the king of all kings. And let me tell you a little bit about him, a little bit about his biography. First of all, we know he was David ben Yishai. But do we know his mother's name? Nitzevet bat Adael is mentioned in the Talmud, her name. Not many people know that. We all know he was a descendant of Ruth the Moabite. He was a musician. He was a warrior. He was the first king of Israel's son-in-law. Yes. And now, the book of Tehillim, he is attributed man King David, is that they say Mashiach ben David, that the Davidic dynasty is the seat of the messianic ruler. Of the day when Mashiach comes, he will be a descendant of King David. That's his biography. Now, when did he live? It's kind of easy. It's roughly 3,010 years ago that he lived. Where did he live? Well, most of his life was lived in Jerusalem. As a matter of fact, many of us have visited Ir David, the city of David. That above the city of David was where the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, stood. Below, to the south of it, is Ir David, this little city. And you could picture that he was out on the balcony one night, and not far from him was a rooftop where he saw Bathsheba. It was a small little village, and this is what Jerusalem was like 3,000 years ago. Next, we have to know famous phrases. Well, there's probably no limit to that because pretty much half of Tehillim was written by King David. So, David Melech Yisrael, Chai v'Kayam, the man that lived 3,000 years ago, he's still alive in our mouths, in our speaking, in our prayers every day. Some people say when they pray, davening, if you say, I'm Daviding, it wouldn't be a mistake because he put half of the words in your mouth how to communicate to God. Next, what is this Haftorah all about? It is David's last will and testament. He's 70 years old. He had 18 wives. He's on his deathbed. No connection. And you have his son, Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech. Yes, Bathsheba's second son is now going to take over the kingship of Israel. And the father looks at his son and he says, Shlomo, you got to take care of some unfinished business for me. You have to kill Yoav. Yoav betrayed me. He walked down to Even HaZochelet to anoint Adoniyahu the king, your older brother. No good. Number two, Shimi ben Gaira. He cursed me. Not at a good time either, at a point when someone is down. We never kick somebody when they're down. And then finally he says, but remember, you have Barzilai. Barzilai, he protected me, he fed me, he helped me, he shielded me. You got to look after him. So this 12-year-old son, who was known as the wisest man that ever lived, has now some work to do ahead of him. And then at the end of the Haftorah, it says that David speaks to his son. There are very few times in the Torah of great father-son conversations. Here's one of them. And what does he say to his son? Ki ish chachamata. See how he spoke to his son? He lifted him up. He raised him up. How many times do parents not have the nicest things to say to their children? Learn from this man. Next, you could see that Solomon was about to take over a reign where his father ruled for 40 years. 7 years was in Hebron and 33 in Jerusalem. And it says that David was buried with his fathers in Ir David, just outside of Ir David, and that King Solomon is now the ruler. So what can we take away from this? It's interesting. There are many wise men out there, but do they establish continuity? And there are many people, you and me, that seek wisdom. How far do we go out of our way to learn from these elder people in our communities that have experience and wisdom? So here's an opportunity to say that these people are resources of connection